Welcome back. Brandon Watson here with Interview At. It's our Thursday session, which I typically use for office hours, and those office hour questions typically revolve around things that get asked of me as I'm doing my mock interviews with people who want feedback from someone who's an ex-Amazon, ex-Microsoft executive. Today I'm going to focus on cheat codes for your video interview. Instead of answering one specific question, I want to share some tips and tricks that I've kind of learned over the last couple of months of doing these interviews for people, things that will allow you to stand out better and really shine in your interview. So cheat code number one, your camera. So as you can see, I've got a pretty high definition camera here, and it's a nice 1080p signal that's coming across the wire. And it looks, well, I mean, obviously it looks okay. Could look better, I guess. But it looks a whole lot better than what most normal laptop cameras look like. And so to get into this, I'm just going to switch the camera that I'm using here to demonstrate what this can look like to someone you are interviewing with. So most laptop cameras come with a 720p camera, and 720p is considered high def, but as you can see, this image of me, it's okay, I guess. But when you're interviewing with someone for a job that you want to be able to connect with the interviewer and have them be able to see the emotions on your face and read you better. And for whatever reason, 720p just doesn't really cut it. And so the difference between this and this is pretty surprising when you think about it. You can see my face a whole lot better, much higher definition, wider field of view. Something to consider, there are external web cameras that you can get to plug into your laptop. It's something you might want to consider, although, being honest, with COVID, it seems like web cameras are sold out everywhere. I guess Logitech is having a good year, but they're very hard to find. Maybe you go to your local Best Buy, Office Max, whatever. But you're going to want to get a camera that has at least 1080p if you're going to be doing a lot more of these sorts of video calls. Tip number two, lighting. Maybe some of you caught in that last section when I switched from the low def to the high def that the lighting wasn't as good as it normally is, and it's not. This is what my office space with kind of overhead lights normally looks like, and it's dark. It's hard to see me, and it's hard to figure out what's going on with my face. And so there's a pretty simple thing that you can do for yourself. Go get yourself a cheap desktop lamp. My switch is down here, and I will, there it is. I will go ahead and turn this on, and right away you can see a little bit of a difference. Drop shadows on the face, a little bit of light coming in from the side. This is just a desktop lamp that I've got pointing at my face. Now, I've got a different, brighter lamp here next to my table. Turn that on, and immediately the difference is clear, right? So the camera quality and the lighting quality really matters a lot if you're looking to connect with your interviewer and you want to put your best foot forward when you're doing your interview for your dream job. So why wouldn't you make the tiny investment in getting a $19 table lamp? And this is one of those ring lights, not that expensive, but if you're going to be doing more video chats, more video calls, simple little fixes that you can add that help you communicate a whole lot better. Cheat code number three. Now, something that happens when you're in an interview, I've seen this, it happens again and again. Candidates have a tick where they'll say something like, "It's a good question. Let me think about that." Or, "Oh, that's a really great question. Let me think about that." What happens is they use the same phrase over and over and over again, and it ends up not presenting very well as the recipient of that information on the other side of it. I hear it back from them as the interviewer, and it's distracting, and it's a little bit hard to listen to. And so here's the thing that I've said you might want to try. You have the ability with the camera, you understand what can be seen, and therefore, you know what? I'd like to just make a couple notes, make sure I cover all the topics. If you don't mind just writing a few things down and make some notes. Here's the thing. When you're face-to-face with a person, hopefully you have a pad of paper and a pen and you're prepared and you can do that, and then maybe they look at your notes or they don't. I didn't write a thing. You didn't know that because you couldn't see it, but it gave me the ability to put a pause in my answer and then gather my thoughts and then address you, but it made it look more thoughtful as opposed to, oh, that's an interesting question. Let me think. What I'm presenting to the interviewer is, yeah, let me just gather my thoughts. I'm just gonna write a few things down, make sure I cover all the topics. Much more thoughtful, better executive communication. And the reality is, again, you don't actually have to write anything down. You don't even need a pad of paper because I could just be, pretending to write on my desk and no one would know. So another piece of feedback that I'm finding I'm having to give more than I would have thought I have to. Y'all like to talk and talk and talk. If there was a support group for some of you, it would be talkers and on and on and on and on. It is surprising how often people kind of run over that acceptable amount of time to talk because you want to get everything out and you just start talking. Maybe you didn't structure your answer so well and you're being very nonlinear in your discussion, and that's a whole different discussion for another time. But the problem is you lose track of time. The interviewer is very aware of how much time you've been talking, and what ends up happening is over time they're leaning further and further and further back. Eventually, their head snaps back because they're going to sleep. Here's a little trick that you cannot do in an in-person interview. You know, I've been running on my phone a stopwatch here while recording this video. You can very surreptitiously reach down, hit reset, hit start, hit stop every time you're starting an answer, so you have a running total of how long you've been talking. It's a nice little cheat that allows you to, one, keep your answer short, brief, not overly long, not overly short, but at the same time keep track of where you are in your answer and make sure that you're engaging with your interviewer. For the fifth and final tip, this one, it really is a cheat code, because when you think about doing a video interview with an individual, they only see you. There's a great commercial where it's like all clean behind the father, and then when the camera goes away, it's just mess all around. He's been communicating with his wife. And the same remains true. You can't see what I have here. And I've driven this whole video with my notes on the screen on little sticky notes around the corner of my monitor. So that is a way for you as an individual to not have to worry about futzing with your keyboard and alt-tabbing between applications. Maybe you've got OneNote or Evernote or something that maybe you wanted to keep all your notes track. That's a rough play, because you might end up fumbling, you might have the app crash, any number of things go wrong. But with sticky notes attached to your screen, just kind of littered around the side, maybe you're up against the wall and you got them on the wall, you can provide yourself with crib notes for just about any situation and be much better prepared for your video interview. And, you know, quite frankly, that's going to put a better foot forward and hopefully get invited out to the full-time on-site. Okay, so those were just a couple of quick cheat codes that you can enable for your next video interview to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward when you're thinking about interviewing for your dream job. So to recap, 1, think about your camera quality. 2, think about your lighting source. 3, pretend to jot notes as a logical breakpoint to allow you to gather your thoughts without using a common tick or phrase that you use over and over again in the meeting. 4, use your phone as a stopwatch on the table so you understand how long you've been talking. And 5, use sticky notes. Put them around your screen, around your monitor, on the wall, whatever. But use those notes as your crib sheet so you have all your stories, that corpus of information that you want to present in your interview. You've got it available to you right there, and you don't have to be looking around and alt-tabbing between applications on your screen. Hopefully you found this information useful and helpful, and if you did, I'd ask you to go ahead and click that subscribe button and make sure that you get updates from this channel whenever we present mock interview segments and our Thursday office hours.